Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have vowed to take away your Second Amendment rights through gun bans, gun confiscation, and government regulations. Now, Joe Biden is no longer hiding his real intentions, and we need you to take action now.
Whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle is ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things. But
the Biden administration is coming after your right to own any gun, and we need you to text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Joe Biden has already issued executive orders. He is now demanding Congress push through radical gun legislation. You can fight back to stop Joe Biden's gun grab, but you must text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Take action to protect your right to keep and bear arms. We urgently need millions of Americans to text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today is Craig DeLuz, of course, of The Rundown. And Craig, thanks for jumping on board today, man.
Hey, it is my pleasure. Always enjoy chopping it up with you, sir.
All right, we've got a lot of stuff going on today. Let's get right to it. Our first story is out of San Jose, California, and looks like they're about to step in it. What they want to do is they want to, and this is going to be voted on, or the city council is going to be going through a reading tonight, and it's got to go through this and then one more, and then supposedly after that it becomes, they go one through a reading tonight, and then on February 8th, and if it passes both of those, it becomes the law in San Jose on August the 8th. And what San Jose wants to do is they want to, every firearm owner in the city would have to have liability insurance, which, by the way, you can't buy insurance for an illegal activity, and they want to charge every gun owner in the city $25 every year for a constitutionally enumerated right, and the money is going to go towards reducing gun violence. What they're wanting to do really is they want lawsuits against them from all kinds of places, and I know for sure that the SAF is sharpening up pencils and pens, and I'm sure that the Firearms Policy Coalition is doing the same thing, and there are lawyers getting tuned up here.
You know, what's interesting about this, first of all, it's a multi-phase thing. This is not the first time they have discussed this, so we know that this is not the first time they've attempted to implement this. There's a couple of things. Number one, their attorney is going to tell them that you cannot indemnify against a criminal act. And that was something that you had mentioned earlier. I've spoken with a number of, but not just insurance agencies, but the organizations that represent them legislatively. And when this sort of idea was proposed at the state level in California, they wound up pulling it because the insurance companies made it very, very clear. No, we cannot create the type of insurance that you are requesting. Now, if you want to suggest that they get general liability insurance, well, guess what? If a person legally defends themselves in their home, number one, what are they, or if they have a concealed carry permit outside, if they are legally defending themselves, what do they need liability insurance to protect them from? Right? That's the one thing that they're not going to talk about. Now, if they've committed a criminal act and they're found to be criminally liable, well, no insurance is going to cover that. No insurance no matter how much money you pay for it, is not going to cover that, because that's just flat out illegal. Now, the other insurance that they're not going to cover, or that they actually want to discourage you from getting, is the sort of insurance that would allow you, like USCCA, or any of these other, or Law Shield, that would allow you to actually cover the cost of your attorney in the event. So, because see, here's the thing: the reason why they don't want you to get that insurance is because that means you are more likely, if you are innocent of a crime, you are more likely to take them to court. They don't want to go to court. There's a reason why 94% of all felony convictions are plea bargains. That's because they know that if you take them to court, chances are they're going to wind up losing. So that's the kind of the first thing out of the gate is just this illegal insurance that they want you to get. And then the other thing has to do with the tax that's supposed to go to help reduce gun violence. But it never actually goes to that. Just like the money we pay into a firearm safety fee or exam, that's money supposed to go into firearm safety in California, never goes to firearm safety. You know what it goes to? Gun confiscation. And it goes to fund people who are being sent out to confiscate firearms. That, in the end, is what this is going to be. It's going to be a tax, and their goal, quite frankly, is to make it so that people, poor people in particular, can't afford to own or possess a firearm. So they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to not have a firearm and be a potential victim waiting, or they're going to own a firearm and they're going to be breaking the law.
Yeah, and do not rule out the second one, because there's going to come a point in time when reasonable men just get fed up. Right.
No, I 100% agree. And, I always say this, and then because, I'm sure you get the I shall not comply crowd all the time. Mm-hmm. And I hear y'all. I really do. I just ask, what I always ask is when you decide you are not going to comply with a law, just know this. Know the consequences of non-compliance, and and just go into it with your eyes wide open. That's all. That's all I say. Know the consequences, legal and financial, and before you decide not to comply.
Yes, and know that the state, although they are the kumbaya state of love and peace and happiness, they intend on enforcing this at the barrel of a gun. And they will do that. You could very well be giving your life for your beliefs, and the state will absolutely take your life if they believe it's in their best interest.
And that's the worst case scenario. Also understand that it could very well mean you lose your gun rights permanently. Mm-hmm. It could mean tens of thousands, if not $100,000 in legal fees, time in jail. All of these things are all possibilities. So just know that going in. Like I said, I got respect for people who say, look, I'm going to stand up for my rights, and I'm a believer in standing up for your rights, but know that once again, we're talking non-compliance, know exactly what that means.
Yes, 100%. And the other thing they have to know, that, and in the story that I found this morning, they have to know that they're going to get sued in about a hot minute over this.
If the city manager is not telling them as a part of this that they are opening themselves up for a lawsuit, then that city manager needs to be fired because they are not doing their job. Now, I'm not saying they're going to care, but that's the job of the city manager, because this is clearly lawsuit material.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they're vastly underestimating the quality of the attorneys they're going to be going up against. I want the quote off the story. The story I found was on WYFF4.com. The mayor has a quote here that I just. Certainly, the Second Amendment protects every citizen's right to own a gun. It does not require the taxpayers to subsidize that right, Democratic Mayor Sam Liccardo said Monday at a news conference. I'm not asking for a subsidization of that. I'll buy it on my. If you want to subsidize one, I'll take a Barrett. If you want to subsidize one,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That is just an ignorant statement. It is beyond ignorant. You're right. No one's asking them to subsidize the right. What they're doing is they're penalizing the right. right? They're acting like, so if they're acting like if one individual or if a small group of people abuse their fundamental right to keep and bear arms, well, then everybody in the city of San Jose needs to be punished. So the same could be said that if one individual abuses their First Amendment rights in the city of San Jose, then everybody who seeks to exercise their First Amendment rights in the city of San Jose ought to be penalized.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we need to take away their Facebook for it. You know.
Yep, every single one. Every single one of you have to now pay an additional fee in order to utilize Facebook. Why? Because someone said something mean, or no, you get penalized for you get penalized for using Twitter because someone said a mean tweet.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Exactly right. And I want to talk, and we're having issues. I know people are commenting. For some reason, my software cannot get them picked up and put on screen today. I don't know what the issue is. I'll work on that later. I don't have time to work on it while I'm online on the air. But I want to talk a little bit about, we're going to go a little south here. And there is a guy running, and John Petrolino was nice enough to send me this link here earlier today. He wrote for Bearing Arms. There's a gentleman running for sheriff, and I use the term gentleman very loosely here, running for sheriff in San Diego. The sheriff there is retiring, is not running for sheriff again. There's going to be a new sheriff in San Diego. And apparently one of the people running for sheriff claims he's a big Second Amendment supporter. He's a former Marine. He's this, he's that. And oh, by the way, this big Second Amendment supporter, he likes these red flag law things.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I will tell you, and this has been one of my biggest issues with many in not just law enforcement, but a lot of Republicans who claim to be Second Amendment supporters but support red flag laws, is their belief is they support things that make it easier for them to do their jobs. And there's no doubt that if they can go and they can have a hearing where someone doesn't get where someone doesn't know, and they get to take away someone's rights and take away their firearms, that makes their jobs easier. Well, maybe not the officers who are sent to the person's house to take their guns, the guy that doesn't know that they're coming. If he really is in a dangerous spot, all of a sudden sending a bunch of cops to his house to seize his guns without telling him they're coming is not a real positive, not going to be a real positive thing. But the fundamental rights are secondary in their eyes. They believe that it's okay to subdue, to push your rights to the back burner. The right against unreasonable search and seizure, the right, your right to keep and bear arms, your right to face your accuser, or the right of being innocent until proven guilty. None of those things matter to them. Those things are all secondary, despite the fact that, oh, by the way, they swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States.
Well, and for me, the most asinine thing about red flag laws is you've got somebody who you claim is so dangerous that they cannot be trusted with firearms, yet you're only going to take firearms away from them. You're not going to incarcerate them so they can't harm other people. You're going to leave them with keys to vehicles like pickup trucks. You're going to leave them with things like sledgehammers and knives and other things like that. You're going to leave them where they can stalk other people. You're going to leave them out and free in society, where they can get things like gas cans and Bic lighters. You're taking one thing away from them and leave them free to create mayhem with much more dangerous things.
Well, and they claim that this is about mental health, right? This is someone who's going through a mental health episode. Yet there's absolutely positively there's absolutely nothing here that offers anyone any sort of assistance with mental health issues. All right, absolutely positively nothing. In fact, when you go to court later in order to prove that you're not a danger to yourself or others, they don't tell you what the standard is. They don't tell you, do I need to go see a psychiatrist? Do I need to get a letter from a psychiatrist or a psychologist? Do I need to get a lawyer? Oh, by the way, this is a civil action, not a criminal action. So you're not entitled to a defense, right? You don't get to have an attorney to represent you. All of these subversions of your rights is crazy. And then here's what we found. FPC did some research, and they found that in 80% of the cases where an individual went to court and was found that they should not have had their rights taken away, right? And they got their rights back. In 80% of those cases, they didn't even get their guns back.
Wow. Yeah, and just off the top of my head, there needs to be, if you or I as an individual, or even let's take this a step further, if a business owner were to do something that bad, they would lose their business.
Yep.
Or you or I would lose our house, would lose our cars, would lose our livelihoods, or
Yep.
at least a significant. We could get our wages attached. We could get these sheriffs, these politicians. They need to be held personally responsible for this. And I know there's a legal, noblesse oblige, the king can do no wrong, and the government is held, they cannot be held liable for this in many legal, but that needs to go away.
Well, I think in particular when you knowingly violate the Constitution, in other words, when either your attorney or when it has been made legally, when it's been made clear that you are in violation of the Constitution or in violation of the law, I think that immunity, whether it be qualified or full immunity, should be removed. I don't see how you get to knowingly violate the Constitution and still should be protected from any sort of litigation, from any sort of personal consequences.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was bouncing over. We are getting comments. They're just not coming into the software that lets me put them on the air. But John Petrolino checking in. Hey, John. Thanks for watching. I just the whole red flag thing. I'm right there with you. We need to. There needs to be a way where we can make politicians and those who press for these things liable for their actions. I don't know what that is going forward. I'm at a loss myself. So.
Yeah, well, you know how these folks are, man. Like I said, it is beyond frustrating. But anyway, having said that, I will consistently continue to keep fighting because, well, that's what we got to do.
Yes, absolutely. We absolutely must do that. Let's shift out of California, and this one also got me fired up. There is a legislator, a senator in the Atlanta area. Now, Georgia has been pushing for constitutional carry. It looks like they may be getting it. And this Atlanta legislator wants to, well, she's a little perturbed that people may be able to carry without a permit. She wants to make it, if you're going to own a firearm in Georgia, she wants it mandatory for you to have to go through a 4 to 6 hour long firearm training course just to own a firearm. And this one got me quite fired up. I'm going to let you have first shot at it, though, Craig.
Well, I'll tell you, number one, I think that everyone should learn basic firearm safety because, first of all, I think even if you never, ever decide to own a firearm, you should know how to safely handle one or what to do if you come across one. if you need to unload it or anything like that. I think you should, well, number one, I think you should know that. I just think basic firearm safety is something that everyone should learn. I do not believe, though, it should be a condition of being able to carry a firearm, because here's the thing: if it's called constitutional carry, then the only thing you need is the Constitution. If you have to go take a training class, if you have to pay a fee, if you have to do all of these other things, then it's not constitutional carry by definition. It's not. We talked about this a little bit off air, and I would just, my attitude is, hey, you know what? If you're going to do this, tell you what, how about this? If you're going to exercise, and by the way, they want to charge everybody, make everybody take this class in the event that a small group of people might violate their constitutional right. Well, how about this? How about we make everybody who's on Twitter or everybody who's on Facebook, yeah, every single one of you, you've got to go take a basic course on free speech and what constitutes free speech, what does not constitute free speech. And once you do that, and you pay the fee to do that, take a 4 to 6 hour class, then you get on social media and talk. How about that?
And before you go vote, you have to take a 4 to 6 hour civics class. If you're going to run for office, you've got to pass that at an A level. And we're not talking the A level of today where 90% is A, 80% is B. When I went to school, you had to get a 96% to get an A. 94% was A minus. Yeah, you know, I want you, Senator Sally Harrell, I want you to take a true civics course that includes the Constitution.
Most definitely. And because let's just be honest, our nation's been a lot more screwed up by ignorant voters than by gun owners.
Yes, absolutely. No, and I'm with you, Craig. I wish every American would go take a gun safety course, because we would alleviate a few. Because let's face it, when you compare it to other forms of injury and death, it's relatively minor. But we would eliminate some injuries and a few deaths if the general public were to go through gun safety courses.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing: is we are actually, I mean, even dating back decades, if not a century, we are at record low. We are at record low injury and deaths with firearm accidents. I mean, you have phenomenal groups out there like the NRA, like NSSF, and other small groups who are specifically doing firearm safety training, targeting children, targeting women, targeting urban communities. You got Black Guns Matter that's doing gun training in urban communities. I mean, there are so many organizations out there that are teaching safety that have helped to reduce that. And oh, by the way, none of those are supported by the government. None of those are given the tax dollars or the fees that many of us have to pay into a quote unquote safety fund. None of that money goes to teach those sorts of classes and provide that level of training that these nonprofits do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little, again, my brain is post.
I get you. I hear you, sir. I hear you. When you see ignorant stuff, and the problem is that this isn't. It's one thing to just see ignorant stuff and hear ignorant stuff. There's Facebook and there's Twitter. We're going to see that. We're going to hear that. But when this is an individual who's been entrusted to vote on and to pass and to write laws that impact millions of people, to see this heightened level of ignorance among somebody who has been given such authority and power is beyond frustrating. Mm-hmm. And you know that it exists, but when it actually is uttered out of someone's mouth, you just want to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You do. You do.
I'm not going to say anything because I would hate for it to sound like, oh, Craig said you should go do that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's very frustrating.
I want one more story I want to cover here, and we're coming up on the bottom of the hour, but One good story, and this was when I caught the story off Salon.com. It was written as the sky is falling. Wisconsin is looking at lowering the age you can get a concealed carry permit from 21 down to 18, which in my eyes is a good thing. The way they wrote it is, oh my goodness, that means because if you have a concealed carry permit and you're 18, you could still be in high school. And according to Wisconsin law, if you've got a concealed carry permit, you can carry inside of a school. That means high schoolers may be able to carry when they're in school. I'm like, well, I guess there's not going to be any more school shootings, is there?
No, there'll at least be some people prepared at those schools to fight back. But once again, keep in mind, I don't know what Wisconsin law is when it comes to concealed carry, but keep in mind, number one, concealed carry permit holders are the most law-abiding people out there. Every study that I've seen has said that they are even more law-abiding than law enforcement. Overall, I'm talking overall when you compare criminal offenses and criminal backgrounds and all of that. So that's number one. The number two is, I don't know if they have a training requirement in Wisconsin. I know in places like California, we have a stringent training requirement. We do 16 hours in order to get your initial license, and then it's 4 hours to renew. I mean, it's pretty stringent, and you have to demonstrate the ability to be able to utilize your firearm and to know and understand the law. Once again, the most law-abiding, and by the way, knowledgeable and trained people, in many cases, some more than some law enforcement. And so these are adults. 18 years old is adult. They have a right. They should be able to exercise the right just like every other adult. We don't, if they're going to be an adult and they're going to be legally and civilly, criminally responsible for the decisions that they make, then they ought to be able to defend themselves.
Amen. Amen. Well, we're just a couple of minutes away from the time we have to say goodbye, but what's been going down on the rundown lately?
You know what? We're talking about a bunch of things. Gun related specifically today, we actually talked. Illinois has introduced a measure to ban the sale of, possession of, or manufacturing of toy guns that look like real guns. I don't know what the point behind this is. It seems completely stupid and ignorant, but that was one of the things that yes, I know you're laughing. That was one of the things that we talked about today on the show. We also talked about MSNBC's Tiffany Cross decided to talk about the importance of using weapons of war in the upcoming election. Everyone should take up weapons of war in the upcoming in the upcoming election that will be taking place. Now, I know what she meant. She was like, it's time for us to get aggressive and fight for what we believe, right? That's what she meant, or maybe not. That's what she meant. But here's the thing. If you had a Republican who said that, no, let me clarify. If Donald Trump had said that, that would be the lead in the impeachment trial, right? How is talking about weapons of war in an election, how is that not insightful? How is that not inciting violence? Anyway, those are just two of the stories that we talked about today on the Rundown. By the way, you can find us at rundown.us, or you can also find us on Facebook. Just look for 2A News Rundown. You can also listen to an audio version just wherever you get your podcast. Just search for the Rundown, 2A News and Conservative Views, and you'll find us. We're on all of the Spotify, what's the other one? Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Apple, both of the Apple podcasts. There's the other one, and iHeartRadio as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Craig, man, it's always a pleasure talking with you. I look forward to the Tuesdays that we get to work together, man.
Most definitely, sir. Very much appreciate it, and guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Folks, if you just happen to stumble across the video or stumble across the podcast, please do subscribe. And if you're watching us on video, don't forget, smash the like button and share the show with a friend. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for watching, and we will see